Sup, chooms, how y'all living? Hope everything is Nova and you're all having a preem week. So, let me first wish you all a very happy 4th of July. Celebrating 4th of July is very important to me because I love the USA and I love all nations who are friends to the USA. But no matter where you may come from, if you are on finasteride, then every day is a special day for you because even if you are not celebrating your nation's independence, you could still celebrate your own independence from the slaphead curse. So, today's video is going to be a quick but exciting update about the hair loss drug Vertoporfin, but I still think it is also important to address some recent events. As many of you chooms know, I've been living on the edge thanks to some anti-finasteride goon copyright striking my channels and sending me blackmail notifications threatening to take down my channel. He's even gone so far as to contact my girlfriend's Instagram account, threatening to take down her channel as well just because it features me. Fortunately, YouTube has rejected 2 of the copyright strikes, and I'm sure the third one will be reversed too, since it is after all just a video of me doing farmer's walks, and there is nothing in that video that anyone besides me can actually copyright. There's not even any background music in that video. So, my channel is staying up, but I don't know to what extremes the asshole behind all this will go through just to cancel me, just because he disagrees with me about the use of hair loss drugs, which is really pretty pathetic if you think about it. But I'm not going to give this douche nozzle any more attention because he does not deserve it. But before all this happened, I was planning to do a Verteporfin update, and I wasn't going to let some pipsqueak anti-finasteride troll interfere with my plans. So this is my 4th video on Verteporfin, believe it or not. And I know that seems excessive, but believe me, chooms, I wouldn't be making this video today if I wasn't optimistic about this treatment, but I am. But just to get you chooms up to speed on Verteporfin, I'll briefly summarize what it does, but you really should watch my other videos on Verteporfin for more details, and I'll link those videos below. Anyways, Verteporfin is unlike any other hair loss treatment available. What it does is that it theoretically allows the donor region to recover and grow new hair after a hair transplant. This could potentially allow for a nearly inexhaustible source of donor hair for a transplant. This is very important because a hair transplant doesn't actually restore any hair. It just redistributes hair from one part of the scalp to another. So if you're a Norwood 6 or a Norwood 7, then you may not have enough donor hair to make up for all the lost ground you've had through androgenic alopecia. So with Vertoporfin though, you wouldn't just be restoring the hair you've lost through androgenic alopecia, you'll actually be able to regrow your donor hair. So that sounds almost too good to be true. Also, the drug is already FDA approved for treating macular degeneration, so this isn't some drug that has yet to go through the FDA approval pipeline in order to be available. It can be used by doctors right now as we speak. And in fact, several transplant doctors, notably Dr. Taleb Barghouti, are already using the drug in their own medical practice and doing their own experiments on human volunteers with what looks to be successful results. So, how does Vertoporfin work? Well, Vertoporfin is an inhibitor of a certain protein called the Yes-associated protein, or YAP. YAP is a protein that is activated when there is an injury to the skin. YAP activates another protein called engrailed-1, and that protein activates fibroblasts to create fibrosis and scar tissue. Now, when there is any injury to the skin, we know that healthy skin is replaced by scar tissue. Scar tissue is actually stronger than skin, but it is made up of dense collagen and it lacks blood vessels. But what's most important is that it lacks hair follicles. So every time a hair transplant doctor harvests hair follicles from the donor area, scar tissue is going to form, and the hair doesn't grow back afterwards. That's because the YAP protein is activated, and that is what leads to scar tissue, also known as fibrosis. However, Vertoporfin blocks the YAP protein, so the scar tissue doesn't form to begin with. Instead, in theory, what grows back instead is healthy skin along with brand new hair follicles. That sounds almost miraculous, but it's actually a common phenomenon in the animal kingdom. It's called Scarless healing. If a salamander, for instance, loses a leg, it actually grows back a new leg. Same thing happens with a starfish that loses a limb. Unfortunately though, mammals, including human beings, have almost completely lost the ability to have Scarless healing. However, the capability is still there if you can inhibit the YAP protein. Rarely, this can happen by accident, like in this photo of a bald guy who had a burn injury to his scalp. Afterwards, he started regrowing hair, but we know this is rare since the only picture we have of it is an old black and white photo from the 1980s. But like I said, Vertoporfin has the ability to do the exact same thing. So some hair transplant surgeons like Dr. Barghouti have been publishing updates of their own experiments with this drug, but it turns out that this latest update is from a different doctor, a Dr. Blake Bloxham. Dr. Bloxham published a video on YouTube which is linked below, so I'm going to just summarize his video and show some screenshots. Dr. Bloxham has 3 transplant patients he had treated with Vertoporfin. He's reporting on just 2 of them in this video because one of them wasn't available for a follow-up visit. Anyways, the first patient had an FUT transplant and had areas of the donor region treated with low-dose Vertoporfin or no Vertoporfin. This was his 6-month follow-up post-transplant. When Dr. Bloxham compared the 2 areas, at first he wasn't too impressed. However, if we look at this with a close-up, it does look like maybe there is some new hair growth in the middle of the scar. Okay, so we all know that photographic assessments aren't always the best metric to determine progress, but I still think something is definitely going on here. It's just hard to say for certain right now. Dr. Bloxham then shows the other patient. He also had an FUT transplant, and this time he had areas treated with low, medium, and high doses of Vertoporfin. This subject is 9 months following a hair transplant. He really didn't see anything different with the low and medium doses of Vertoporfin. However, with the high dose of Vertoporfin, there really does seem to be a difference. In this image, the left part of the scar got no Vertoporfin and the right side got low dose Vertoporfin. However, the middle area got high dose Vertoporfin. The left and right areas just look like a normal scar. However, Dr. Bloxham notes that the middle does look different. There is a mixture of normal tissue and fibrotic tissue in the middle. The scar actually measured out to have a smaller wrist than the other scars, but most impressively, there appears to be some new hair growth in the scar. This shot shows the areas compared together, and the middle part does look different and does seem to have new hair growth. So Dr. Bloxham thinks that maybe a higher dose of Vertoporfin is needed to see results, which makes perfect sense, since usually with most drugs, you have to achieve a minimum dose to see an effect. Since he and only a few doctors are doing this work right now, we're learning in real time what the minimum dose of Vertoporfin actually is. Dr. Bloxham also says he has spoken to Dr. Barghouti in Jordan, and he too is starting to use even higher doses of Vertoporfin. There is one note of caution though. Dr. Bloxham, he states that in animal studies, if the dose was too high, the drug could actually have worse results. So there may be an upper limit to the dose of Vertoporfin too. So these experiments aren't so much about finding out if the drug works. We already know that it works. It's more about finding out what the optimal dose is. But overall, Dr. Bloxham is pretty encouraged by these results, and I am too. Dr. Barghouti has had encouraging results too in his FUE transplant subjects, and I've covered his results in my previous videos that I'll link below. Dr. Bloxham also mentions possible other uses for Vertoporfin, and I'd be very curious to see if it might have any primary effect in treating androgenetic alopecia directly. Maybe someone could inject it into the bald scalp and just see what happens afterwards. I mean, who knows? Anything could happen, right? Anyways, I find Vertoporfin to be a very exciting drug, and I'm looking forward to more updates. Hopefully, we will have a study looking at more than just a handful of subjects, which of course would be a lot more useful than having just a few doctors and patients volunteering to be human guinea pigs. So, as great as Vertoporfin may be, the best option, of course, is to start finasteride before losing ground, and that way you never have to worry about hair transplants to begin with. But for those who are unlikely to regrow back what they've lost because they got into the game too late, Vertoporfin looks like it is going to revolutionize hair transplants and make them a hell of a lot better. So, I'll see you all next time, hair loss witchers. Thank you for watching. God bless.